Well guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're here another weekend. So we got beast mode today. We got the black MR2. It's in the garage. You know what that means. Gotta try to get this thing started. We got a red MR2, we got a white MR2, we got tons of MR2s, we got more MR2s. They're just not all here. But yep, there you go. We got the black car in. It is looking good. Looks really nice with the black and white. And oh, there's my car calling for attention. The fans are coming on. But yeah, we got the black car with the black and white tiles. Looks awesome. So I'm gonna start getting these injectors in. I got them cleaned. I'm gonna show you guys in a second. And we're gonna get the intake manifold back on. Hopefully this car starts. If it doesn't start, then more likely it's gonna be the fuel pump. So I'm already prepping that area. So we'll see how that goes. But let's get right into the video. Let's get started. Here we have the 3VZ FE. I got the intake manifold out. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you probably would have seen this. We took it out. I didn't film it because honestly I've never worked on this car, so it was kind of like a discovery, and I did it at night because I had to get them out so the next day, which is Saturday, I could get it to the injector shop. So honestly I was pressed for time, so did not get a chance to show how I took this manifold out, but you guys can figure it out. And I always say, listen, if you see how something goes back in, you can always figure out how to take it off. So we're going to show you guys how we put this back in. I am really hoping that this car starts up and I cannot focus on trying to get it run and probably just clean it up a little bit better. So here is the old intake manifold. I'm thinking I need to change the color on that thing. It's a little bit too much red for me, but then again, it's not my personal car. But you know, I think I'd prefer a silver, or maybe even, let's see, maybe even a black. Yeah, I think the black, you know, is murder out the whole car since it's all black wheels on black car. Pull the interior apart because I'm going to pull the fuel sender area right there. I want to check the fuel quality, so I'm going to pump a little bit of gas out, see how that goes. And I'm also going to put parts of the pump just to see, which I'll show you guys in this video, just to see if the pump even works. Because if it doesn't work, what we're doing is necessary because we need to get the injectors clean. But it kind of doesn't make, we know it won't start without the proper fuel pump. So anyways, had these flow tested. I'll throw a video in right now showing you where I had them cleaned, speed injected. That's in Fort Lauderdale. Those guys helped me out, so quick big shout out to those guys. So we showed you the car, we showed you the engine bay, so now we're gonna get the injectors in. So these are the injectors. So factory injectors, I was gonna try to buy some new ones, but then I figured, okay, I got a link to get them cleaned, as you saw in the video I just put up. So hey, figured the OEM stuff is always better than remanufactured, so we'll give it a shot, and they did flow. So we're gonna put them back in, and hopefully we won't have a leak here. And we just gotta cross our fingers, hope it starts. To be honest, I was checking, I'm not even sure this thing has fuel. Like, this would be the third car that comes here that didn't have any fuel in the tank and didn't start. So we knew for sure we had a leaking injector, but again, we're not sure we don't have fuel. So we'll have to pull the fuel sender unit inside the vehicle when we're done and look at it and see if there's any fuel, or if the fuel is even good quality or gummed up. Hopefully it's not, so just trying to get it running and keep moving. I want to be able to lift this rail up so I can snap the injectors in, seat them back down. And if you look right over here, you see this metal line? So whoever built this car put a metal line in down to the fuel filter. So it's not necessarily the most flexible thing, but we're gonna work with it. So right now, I put some caps inside just to block the line so nothing falls down. I'm gonna grease up these injectors, and then we're gonna snap them in. They go, there's 1, 2, 3 ports under the bottom. It's gonna snap them up. Now I am gonna use some silicone on the O-ring right here, and then kind of wiggle them in. So you'll see that on camera. Again, nothing crazy technical, but you know, gotta do what you gotta do. So let's get these in. Alright, so injectors went in, that was pretty smooth. Actually, it slipped in really nice. Sometimes they're kind of difficult, but it helps when you lube them up like I just showed you. So now I'm just gonna line them up, all 6 of them. Try to get everything lined up. And we're just gonna slip everything down and put our four bolts that hold this thing in place. 4 bolts. And I'm just gonna put these in, and we're gonna tighten them up, and that's it. The injectors and rails are in, hopefully. No more leaking. This one was actually leaking, and the seals, the O-ring was actually damaged when I took it out, so it kind of makes sense. So I don't necessarily know that this was the problem to begin with, but obviously somebody tried to mess with it, and you know, in the process I think they screwed up the seal, so we're fixing it. Alright, so disclaimer for this video, we're trying to get this car to run. I'm going to put the intake manifold on. These plugs, I don't have new plugs. I'm going to have to order them. So I'm not even going to get into torque specs at this point, what the rail is. I'm just going to, nice and tight, just kind of get it in, because I'm going to have to take everything off once more to replace the plugs. I just want to check if it starts, just so we have some idea what we're working with. Alright, let's get our connectors in. So our 6 injectors. So if you don't hear 6 clicks, then maybe I shouldn't say clicks, I should say make sure they're locked in place. But this is one thing I like with Toyota clips. When you tap them in and they click like that, it just is very satisfying. I don't know what this thing does. It's like a vent, but it has some type of heater element. Apparently there's a coolant line that goes in here, goes around this little cartridge, and then there's a vacuum breather line that goes on this side. Reinstall this thing and keep moving. All right, now we got the injectors in and that little breather, whatever thing it is that I put on. It's time to get the intake manifold on, and this thing is quite heavy, especially compared to the 2GR. 2GR is made of plastic. So the big issue is this is the PCV line on the bottom, and then we got 2 heater core hoses, which are these 2 that we gotta get put on. So actually 1, 2, 3 heater core hoses that we gotta get on. So this is what you gotta make sure you don't forget. So we're gonna go through it on the car, but I wanted to show you guys on the flip side here, because it does take a little bit of wrestling to get it on, just because it's heavy and trying to connect the hoses and all of that can be a pain. So let's do that. All right, so these are the 3 ports on the engine, as I just showed you guys on the intake manifold. So I'd capped them off because there was coolant that was dripping out of them when I first pulled it. So these caps are really handy. I got them before COVID. Were quite inexpensive. I'm sure they're expensive these days. See? So 1, 2, 3, and now I'm gonna take this tape that I had to make sure nothing fell into the engine, because I had the car outside, and if it rained, I also didn't want to make sure any moisture or anything got inside. So always a good thing to cover this up, because if something flies down in here, you got a problem. And I kind of went double duty on this. So I put some paper in there as well, extra insurance. So all right, so this is a good time to look down into the head and kind of see the valves. It looks pretty clean inside here. As I looked at all of these, I mean, some of them are a little bit not sludge, but obviously, you know, this is a head, and with the valves and everything, there's combustion below. So sometimes this has a lot of soot, black soot, but this one looks very, very clean actually. So, you know, this engine should run. I'm gonna dare to say it should run fine, because it looks great so far. So we're gonna get the gasket on, intake manifold gasket. I don't have a new one, so we gotta use the old one. And again, once we get it running, we can spend some more money, but you gotta get it running first. You can't invest a lot of dollars in the engine if you don't know if it runs. This is metal, so it should be fine. All right, on the opposite side here, we got a PCV valve. So you're gonna connect this hose, slips onto here, and then you got this little spring clip thing And put it over. And then on the back, I think this is for EGR system. So there's a pipe on the back. There are two 12mm bolts that you got to thread in, and there's a gasket that goes on it. So this is kind of hidden. You got to know that this is back here. Well, you would have taken it off, so it's basically reverse the process. And then we're gonna put in our hex bolts right here. Got 1, 2, and then 2 nuts on either side. Let's plug this in. So these 2 plugs were out because we had to take them out to get the intake manifold out. And then we have this vacuum system here that we gotta get plumbed back up. So let's see, we got this one here. It goes to this little line. And let's see what else we got. Something coming off of here. Let's see. This one goes to this side. So the thing with these vacuum hoses, and I had marked them, if you see T here, so I kind of marked them up so to help myself out. So mark stuff because, or video it like we do, so helps you out in the process. There are a lot of loose wires like this that just dangling all over the place, but we didn't have to pull those going into it. And then we have all these vacuum hoses here, so we'll just plug these in as well. This car has a lot of vacuum lines, but again, this is an engine from 1992, 93, so kind of expected. So we got everything plugged back in there. We got the 3 water lines hooked up, so I think we're looking good. All I got to do now is get the throttle cable on, which is right here. Put our intake in, and we should be able to try to start this thing. So fingers crossed, guys. Let's hope this works. Let's tighten the manifold down. Again, just gonna put some hand tighten on this thing, so not going crazy. No torque specs, but tight enough just to make sure it's sealed so we can start up and not have an issue. And there's 4 bolts hold on this intake manifold, so in that sense, very easy. All right, and then we're gonna come over this side. There's just some vacuum lines. We got a, looks like a cold start fuel line here that goes into the intake. We got this little plug. So let's get this on. Brake booster goes on here. All right. Let's slip this on. All right. Now this line, take this out, show you guys what's going on here. The bolt was in, and then the washer was on this side. Then it was threaded into here. So we're gonna put it in the same way we got it off. But I'm suspecting that there should have been another washer over here. It just didn't come like that. So if it leaks, then we'll throw a second washer on it. If it doesn't, then yeah, I guess it was fine the way it was when I took it off. All right, this plugs back in here. And we're pretty much done. I'm gonna secure this thing. It was dangling. I'm gonna put 2 bolts in there just to secure it over here. Throw the intake on, and then we're gonna go pull out the fuel sender and see what before we start this thing, what the fuel looks like. So we're very close to hopefully triggering and firing this thing up. All right, so we're tightening, throwing a clamp that was missing right here. I won't put it on too tight because I might need to use carb cleaner again to try to start it. If it doesn't start on its own, but that's me not putting it in the universe that it's gonna start. So let's put it in the universe that it is gonna start. So let's head inside the cabin. Everything is buttoned up here. Now we're gonna go check the fuel tank out, pull the fuel sender, and see what type of fuel is in the tank. All right, guys, so we're heading inside the cabin. I'm gonna take the fuel sender out because the last time this engine turned over and it was carb cleaner. Now we know the injectors were leaking, but it probably should have still popped out. I don't know. So something tells me that this fuel pump is probably not working. So I'm going to take the fuel sender out because one, I want to look inside the tank, see if maybe it's old fuel and it's gummed up or whatever. And then secondly, I'm going to put power directly to the pump and see if I hear the pump turn over. If it turns over, then I know we're in business. So the car should start, and if it doesn't, then we got a bigger issue, right? Next thing I could possibly think is an ECU, but we're gonna hope for the best, and let's look inside here and see what's going on. So let me bring it inside the cabin, let's pull the fuel sender out and see what's up. All right, so this little cover is held on here. It has 2 10mm nuts, so you're gonna take that off. And then here's your fuel sender. Now there are 5 little Phillips head screws I'm gonna pull the last one. I saved the last one for you guys. So we're gonna pull this out, and once we get that, this thing should pop right up. Now, I'm just gonna say this for saying its sake, because at one point when I first started doing this, took this out and I wasn't sure how it went back in. So the wire always points forward to the front of the car. So you simply just lift it up. It should be loose, and you can just wiggle this thing out. Don't force it. Just take your time. It will come out. It's a little bit clumsy, but you take your time, and then when you get up to here, slip that piece out, and then you got a little float, and the float you kind of have to do a wiggle and turn. And I can smell it. Fuel smells a little bit varnishy from here, but I don't know, we gotta check it out. I'm sure this fuel would not be fresh. But the interesting thing is, if you look at the float, barely has any fuel on it. So let's look down inside here. Maybe there's no fuel even in this car to begin with. So let me take the camera, show you inside, because normally this thing should have some fuel in here. Based on the amount of fuel in here, look, I don't know. I know the MR2s, like if I don't put at least 5 gallons in from an empty tank, this thing does not start. I'm not convinced we even got a gallon in here. And the fact that the car was on an incline, when we tried to start it, all the fuel would have rolled to the back. So quite possibly there's none for the pump to pick up. So that's a plus. I'm going to now put power directly to this thing, see if it will start. Well, see if the pump will get going. But at this point, I'm kind of optimistic that if I put fuel in here, that might just be the issue at this point. So I'm going to use a 9-volt battery actually. And I'm just going to put power directly to this thing, and we're going to see what's up. Go. All right, guys, so the blue wire is a positive in case you're wondering. I just kind of jumpered it here, and I use a 9-volt because a 9-volt should be enough for you to hear the pump going. So I'm going to now tap this and listen to see if I hear a pump. And I heard the pump. So good news here, the pump works. You guys can, I don't think you can hear it on camera, but I can certainly hear it. So the fuel pump works. Thank God, because let me tell you, fixing a fuel pump it's a pain in the ass. So what I'm going to do is, just looking at the tank here, I'm going to go ahead and drain what's left in there. I'm just going to siphon it out. I'm going to go to the gas station. I'm going to get 3 gallons of gas. I'm going to throw it in here, and I'm going to say this thing is going to start. So wish me luck. Think it's going to start?
Oh yeah. It has everything it needs to start.
Spark, fuel, and air is free. So the only thing that could happen if it doesn't start is the ECU.
Well, it kind of started with a brake cleaner, so.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, guys, John is on the camera. He took over. So he's here to celebrate because he was part of the process when we first started.
Yeah, instead of everything, I don't have to take the fuel tank out.
So John is in the house. He's going to start up the car. Hopefully it starts. All right, so let's go, John. Let's see.
All right.
It's up to you, man. It's all in your hands. Oh no, that's not good. Smoke. Ooh.
The battery is that.
I heard someone go clunk and then I was like, did it go toast? Let's see if the battery's dead. Hold on. There's something with a pedal. Yeah, that one.
It's giving power to the.
Yeah, is this pedal here? Stupid switch. No, don't. Try it, but don't stay in the clutch. Go. Yeah, so is this switch here? Can you hear that sound? Go ahead. Yeah.
The starters sound pretty bad.
Oh, you know what? I wonder if there's an alternator belt that's jamming the engine. Remember I told you the alternator was stuck? The hell is that?
Sounds like fuel leaking.
No, it smells no fuel, so it's good. It's dry here. Let me see what's going on. Yeah, the battery. I think the alternator is shot.
It's moving, though.
Yeah, because the exhaust is busted.
Oh, really?
That's not good.
Definitely not.
I heard something go clunk. So maybe there's a hole in the block. Feels like a mixture of gas, you know.
It's like a mix of gas and
Yeah,
fuel.
it's a mixture of gas, you know. Yeah.
Gas and no.
Alright guys, so this is what came out on the whole bottom of the car. It feels like fuel, which kind of makes sense if the injector was dumping fuel inside here.
But there is some oil inside there too, and it's all coming from the exhaust.
Yeah. Which it was misfiring, so I don't know. But this is, like I said, this is wet, it's like liquid. This is what we're getting. So I don't know. We're gonna try it again.
More research.
But hey, it did start.
Yeah, you have compression, that's for sure, and spark.
Yeah, exactly. You hear that song? That song I'm talking.
It's leaking again. From the exhaust.
Yeah, so that's just pushing shit out. It's just, what could be in the exhaust that much? Why is it smoking already? It's literally dripping. Alright, watch it again.
Alright.
That work?
Little, yeah. They're not the same, to be honest.
Or is it clear?
It's like a feel like a oil pressure that is going through there. But you don't even have to start it. As long as you crank it, like start building oil pressure.
What?
There's smoke coming out of everything.
Yeah, it's just the... I mean, when you start a car that's sitting for a while, normally you get like a backfire and shit like that. But
Yeah, but the leaking from the exhaust is not long.
yeah, that's not... I mean, that works?
Little, yeah. They're not the same.
Alright guys, so we're gonna try, because that thing is leaking like water, which I think is coolant out the exhaust, so we're gonna try to bump it again. And it gets to a point where the engine won't turn over, we turn it by hand and it fires up.
You want to crank it again?
Yep. I slept on it because I was so baffled by this. I'm like, could it be the head gasket? So found out that there were two coolant lines that were swapped around. I'll show you guys what it is, but let's try to start it again and see what happens. We got it to run, guys, so it's not all done. I don't think it's head gasket. It was the coolant lines on the throttle intake air control valve were swapped around, so it was dumping coolant into the intake. And kind of stupid, but I went online and I figured it out. Slept on it, so sometimes I gotta sleep on it. It's starting, it's running, it's not idling fine. But we are one step closer to getting it running, so we gotta celebrate that. So with that said, let me take you around to the engine. I'll show you where the lines were crossed, and then we're gonna close out the video. So this is a lesson. We live and we learn. We make some mistakes, and hopefully they're not too great that we can't recover from them. But I made a mistake, and I'm willing to admit the mistake I made. If you guys mentioned earlier in the video, I said I try to get the injectors out at night. And normally I'd mark hoses like these. I marked them when I take them off, but because it was dark and I was trying to hurry, I didn't mark the coolant hoses that I put in. So basically, there is this one right here. It's gonna be hard to see, but it comes from under the intake manifold. and it goes to, there are basically two nipples right down here. This one is where I put it, but it belongs on the thumb, right? Hopefully you guys can understand what I'm saying. So the two lines were crossed, and what was happening is that was dumping coolant into the intake, which is not a good scenario, which kind of makes sense. When we turn the engine by hand, we heard like water moving around. So anyways, luckily engine didn't run for long and it wouldn't turn over. So what I did, I took the intake manifold off again, used air hose and blew out the cylinders. There really wasn't much in there, but the exhaust, as you guys saw, had a bunch of coolant, so it was just flowing right through to the exhaust. Then I put the intake manifold back on after cleaning out, left the plugs out, turned the engine over in case anything was left in there, blew it out, and then I tried to start it. As you guys saw, it fired up. So lesson learned. So whole store right now, we got the engine to start, it runs for a little bit and it shuts off, which was what the previous one had mentioned. So we still haven't figured that out yet, but we're one step closer to trying to determine what was going on. We knew the injectors were leaking fuel. Once you put the ignition, we had fuel just pouring out the rail right there, so that's fixed. Now we got to figure out, now I got mismatched plugs in here, so that could be an issue, maybe why it's running rough. So we'll just keep troubleshooting it, but for now we're going to close the video out. We got it to start. I am happy because I couldn't sleep last night trying to figure out why would this thing not work when I really thought it would. And worst case was their head gasket issue. So it's not always head gasket, and again, hoping there's a more serious issue here because we're still trying to discover this. But thanks for watching, guys. I am going to close this out. I will sleep well tonight, hopefully, now that I know it starts and, you know, it's not catastrophic at this point. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching.